Mullinger's Weekly Ramble.
Hello, it is Thursday. I don't know why that took me so long to think of the word. It is Thursday. Again, if we edited this, we would probably make that a bit slicker. It is Thursday, the 30th of January, 2025, and it is, of course, well, I suppose not of course, but it is, it's not a given, but it is, time for episode 40. That's right, the big 4-0. Woohoo! Celebration. What do people do on their 40th? That's how old I am. I can't remember. Oh, I can remember my 40th, actually. It was wonderful. I remember it because Adam Newhouse gave me a full set of Toxic Avenger comic books that I'm looking at right now, that are by my desk. That's my main abiding memory of my 40th birthday, that I got a full set of Toxic Avenger comic books. And I think he also got me Lloyd Kaufman's autograph. So, yeah. Turn 40, everyone. It's great. You get the trauma collectibles you've always wanted. Anyway, so the point is, it's Thursday. My name is Weekly Ramble, and it is time for episode 40 of. Okay, here we go. Great. That's a minute away. That's a minute down. So I should probably restart this, but I'm not going to. Thank you for being here. Sorry, we're a day late, or possibly 2 days late by the time this lands. I have a voice again. I know last week I was a little bit croaky, and actually things got way, way worse. I will talk you through my past week. As I mentioned last week, I was doing a series of shows for the heroes, the saints of the Horizon Health Network across the province, St. John, Fredericton, and then Moncton, and ending in Miramichi, my beloved Miramichi. And I mean, basically 4 of the most enjoyable gigs of my, I know I'm prone to exaggeration, but I do have to say, possibly of my entire life. I don't think that's an exaggeration. These were shows that I kind of thought, why the hell do I film my stand-up specials in theatres? As lovely as these theatres are, and lovely as they look, and lovely as 800 people is, I should film my stand-up specials in hospitals with nurses and other healthcare heroes who've just come off a 12-hour shift, because they are, unsurprisingly, the greatest people and indeed audiences in the world. So I'll go through that. Since I saw you last year, my voice got a lot worse. I was, as you know, I panic a lot about everything, but I was seriously panicked about my voice. My voice started to go after. When did I speak to you last? Well, basically, this is something of a record for me, I believe. I've had 12 gigs in the past 12 days. Now, granted, that's not, if you're a successful comedian, that's not very many. I mean, Jimmy Carr would do 12 in 6 days in different cities, but, Jimmy Carr is being kind of looked after / pampered / thrown around / protected. He's not, getting up at 6 a.m, scraping off the car, carrying your boxes of props and suits through the snow, worrying about the dry cleaning, where you're going to stop for a Tim's, when's the rental car needs, So I'm not saying, I'm not singing the blues. I mean, life's absolutely wonderful doing what I do, and I love it. But my point is 12 in 12 days, and again, it wasn't 12 consecutive days. There was one day I had 4, there was one day I had 2. But the point is that I believe this is something of a record for me in terms of long shows. Like in England, they probably did 14. I probably did 12 in 12 days there, but those would have been all short sets, possibly in some cases 10 minutes, in some cases 20 minutes. I've definitely done that during festivals, in some cases, close to like 10 a day before. But all of these shows were kind of 90 plus minute sets. And of course, I'm doing a lot of talking in between. So anyway, point being, this is a roundabout way of saying that my voice started to get really, really bad. And when my voice starts to go, it really starts to go. And then my wife is convinced that some of this is psychological. She thinks that when I start panicking about it, everything gets worse. So on Saturday night, I was blessed and honoured enough to be doing a set at the end of a New Brunswick Youth Orchestra fundraiser. it was the 60th anniversary gala of the New Brunswick Youth Orchestra. I don't know if you know the ins and outs of the New Brunswick Youth Orchestra. It is the biggest organisation of its kind in Canada. There was, when it was founded by the Olin family 60 years ago, there was essentially nothing for children to learn classical musical instruments. And again, I mean, I'm not, but I don't know all of the details on this. You should, again, I will be the helpful podcast presenter who says, if you want to learn more, Googles it. Or better still, come to the New Brunswick Youth Orchestra concert featuring Mahler's First Symphony on February the 9th at 2 p.m. at the Imperial Theatre. I have bought, I managed to now, I went online, it's almost sold out. But somehow there must have been returns or something, because basically there was 2 tickets in the 3rd row. So I bought those for me and my son River to go and watch them. Basically, yeah, it's 6 decades, Canada's largest youth music program. What a badge of honour and a sense of pride in New Brunswick. Now, crucially, this orchestra. And again, I mean, the New Brunswick Orchestra, some of you will know, have actually performed last year at what's that place that Bill Burr did a special? Carnegie Hall. You know, so these incredible. They are. Again, I overuse the phrase world class, but these kids are absolutely phenomenal. So this gala dinner. You know, and again, I don't know if you know the New Brunswick Youth Orchestra is one thing. Then there's Sistema, which nurtures newer, younger, in some cases, students, youths, musicians from difficult backgrounds or difficult situations, nurtures them and trains them for the New Brunswick Youth Orchestra. What they do is second to none. If you want to know more, actually, we did do a feature on the Sistema part of the organisation in Multimedia, and I'll happily send you a link on that. So anyway, I was invited to do stand up at the end of this, and my voice is going, and of course, you know, it's a public appearance, so I'm getting nervous. The combination of my voice going combined with this, and then I turn up, and it's like, you know, the whole place is full of St. John royalty. Derek and Jackie Oland are there, who literally were the people who, I think it was them, or maybe it was their ancestors, but you know, who founded the New Brunswick Youth Orchestra. The Buckley family is there, who are, if you know music in this region, you know that the Buckleys are literally royalty. Sisters of Charity were there sponsoring 2 tables. Founding St. John String Quartet members were there. Mayor Donna Reardon was there. So anyway, I arrive, my voice is going, and then I start having my typical imposter syndrome of like, I don't belong here. I'm not good enough. I'm going to lose my voice. I'm going to blow this. There's all these amazing musicians on stage. There's these amazing people in the room, and so I kind of go into this, this kind of imposter mode, which it's so weird. I don't, again, I've kind of learned how to get myself out of it. Anyway, the good thing about the panic is that I had a set list plan, and I go away, and I'm watching the show, and I'm coming back and in and out, and incidentally there was the MC was Jeff Britt, who his family has been heavily involved in the New Brunswick Youth Orchestra for many years. His wife, I believe, still works there. His children have all come through it. And what an incredible host this gentleman is. If you have an event, a fundraiser, or indeed anything, and you're looking for a host, I'm constantly asked kind of, if I can't MC things, if I can recommend other MCs. And, I often recommend, obviously, other comedians. Obviously, when he lived here, Dr. Ansar Hassan was top of my list. Recently, my dear friend Dan Thompson, owner of Italic Printing, who prints the Multimedia, and indeed, also big things, such as things for Disney, Toronto Maple Leafs, Ariana Grande, Scotiabank Centre in Toronto, you name it. I mean, they do everything. Dan Thompson has become, he's been doing a wonderful event with my friend Barb Murphy, her amazing fundraiser every year for the St. John Regional Hospital. Anyway, my first time, doing, I had met Jeff Britt before, But seeing him on stage, I mean, what an absolutely charming, gracious, funny, humble, informed, well prepared, well presented, and may I say handsome host Jeff Britt is. I would say, basically, I felt like Stephen Colbert was hosting. He exuded everything that Stephen Colbert has: sincerity, warmth, passion, humor. Anyway, so that massively put me at ease. Anyway, so I went away. I kept watching. I went away, and I actually decided at the last minute to kind of rejig my act. So I thought they've watched these absolutely world class musicians. Also, the other thing was I'm performing on the stage. It wasn't a small stage; it was a big stage because it had like 60 musicians on it. But I was basically tucked into maestro and legend Tony Delgado's spot. So Tony was composing. He then left the stage and I'm standing in his spot. So I don't have any space to kind of move around, which of course, as you know, turns me into like a caged animal. And I've got these amazing musicians behind me. And hats off to my friend Skylar Brigley, who was to my right, which put me massively at ease. Skylar is one of the most, one of the many beloved members of the orchestra. He was on stage with me at the in the Imperial Theatre when we had the big surprise reveal with the St. John Youth Orchestra behind me. What a wonderful gentleman he is. When you meet these kids that have talent beyond their years, but also personality beyond their years, and you just think, my goodness, I wish I had the confidence, charm, and poise of this. I don't know how old Skylar is. If I had to wager a guess, I would say early teens. But again, just a poise and a confidence combined with a humbleness and a modesty that, frankly, a lot of everyone in American politics right now could learn from. Skylar would make an amazing American president. I know it's not exactly high praise because right now I'm not going to do Trump this week. I'm not doing Trump this week. I'm steering clear of any talk of tariffs, of Musk. Although I say that, I'm not going to be able to resist it, am I? Although obviously there's been a huge tragedy in America in the last a few in the last 24 hours. So again, I'm not going to be responsible. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say. So my point is, oh my God, 12 minutes gone. Okay. So I get on stage and I'm nervous. Also, again, like I said, there's two tables of Sisters of Charity, two tables of nuns. So I'm thinking, I don't belong here. Does anyone even want me? Why would they've got these world class musicians on stage? Why do they want this stupid comedian? A stupid comedian who has just done 10 hours on stage in the previous 3 days, has no voice left. Will I walk on and have no voice? Will I panic? Have I forgotten how to do this? Anyway. I go on stage and I decide to open with, which again, it's very interesting. I think it's interesting. You might not. I decided not to necessarily to open with stand-up. I thought a story that I often end my sets with about how and why I fell in love with this place and it relating to my love for my grandmother and the town that she was from. I decided to open with that. I often go up and do an hour stand up and then I close with this story and then do some gags at the end. I decided to open with it based on the fact that I thought which is actually a technique, a tip, which I don't know if I've mentioned this before. And Jimmy Carr mentioned this. I was writing an article once about wedding speeches, and Jimmy Carr made the point that the bits about the fact that everyone should always speak from the heart and how humor comes from that and from being real. He said nothing is less funny than when people try and kind of pepper and pack their wedding speeches with gags. And I wrote that article, I believe, for Brides magazine, a couple of decades ago, and I didn't take my own advice at my own wedding, and I don't even stand up for a couple of years at this point. And I tried to be funny, failed miserably. And then my father-in-law, who hates... Did I tell this story already? My father-in-law, who hates public speaking, went up and absolutely ripped the roof off with a barnstorming. Everyone in the room was crying, laughing. Barry Arthur's just amazing. Never public spoken before, would avoid it at all costs, and yet went up and stormed it by speaking from the heart. So anyway, point being, it's an interesting thing that by being real, it's like, when they say with sitcoms and comedy shows, how you've got to the people and the characters and the heart has to come first in order for the humor to be able to follow in a satisfying way. So I opened with that and then went into the jokes, and they landed way better than I thought that it was going to. So much so that when I came off stage, often I wouldn't say mobbed. I'm often approached by kind people who are kind enough to come over and maybe say that they've liked what I do, whatever. The two tables that I was approached by, mobbed by, whatever, were the two tables of nuns, and I cannot tell you the absolute job satisfaction I get from knowing that the first one said to me something like, it would have been, oh my goodness, wouldn't it? It wouldn't have been, oh my G-O-D. It would have, oh my goodness, you are a hoot. And someone said, you are a riot. And they wanted their pictures taken with me. And then I realized they live at, and then one of them said, I've seen you before. And I was like, oh, which show? And she said, no, not a show. I saw you chasing, I was driving my car back to the Villa Madonna, which is where where some of them live, the Villa Madonna nun house, nun center, nunnery. Is it a nunnery? Monastery? No, nonastery. I don't know. She said I was driving back and you were chasing your dog around like a lunatic, like a comedy sketch, like I guess like a Benny Hill. If my dog Willow was a big-breasted woman. That's the circus. What is the Benny Hill theme tune? I think I've been in this predicament before, trying to remember the Benny Hill theme tune. I know, I've got an idea. Should I get the Benny Hill theme tune up on my? Because I think I've been trying to remember it before. Basic point being is she saw me running around chasing Willow. Willow came off her lead, and she had to stop her car while Benny Hill main theme. Here we go. Let's remind ourselves of it. It's a bloody Paramount ad for Paramount Plus. There's a great joke that I heard. I love the comedian Sam Morril, and he has a great joke where he says, getting drunk in your 20s is like, oh, what did I do last night? Or blah, blah, blah. And then getting drunk in your 30s, 40s, or 50s is oh my God, did I sign up for Paramount Plus last night? Brilliant. Okay, this is the Benny Hill theme, so we won't ever get it. So you can picture me running around chasing Willow as a nun is trying to get home to the me running around. Ooh, every time I've got her, I get her, and then she runs off, and then she stops, and I grab her. The dog, this is, not the nun. Okay, I grab the Willow. I go, Willow, come here, Willow. I'm running around. And that's the. That's one of Dave Attell's jokes on one of the greatest ever comedy albums, Skanks for the Memories, which is this. Oh no, that's a mix. He does the a line. Now I've forgotten what the carnival sound. Oh yeah, that's it. Dave Attell's joke is I'll never forget the song I lost my virginity to. Brilliant. Dave Attell, author of some of the finest jokes of all time. What was one I used to absolutely love? Anyway, I'm going off the point a bit here. Point being, and it was one of those moments, and again, not to say that my mum isn't proud of me, but I felt like, wow, this is a moment that I wish my mum could see, that the job I do that admittedly isn't always clean comedy is appreciated by two tables of nuns. And I guess, okay, so all that is, oh my God, it's taking me 20 minutes to get through just subject one, which is, so point being, check out and support the St. John, the New Brunswick Youth Orchestra. Go and see them live. I hope you like stories about New Brunswick Youth Orchestras, because that was 20 minutes of that. That's that. I'm going to leave it at that. The point being, Tony Delgado, an honor to share stage with them again. So the gig went. The point is, the gig went well, and it's led me to think something. Is the point, which also leads me to the other shows I've been doing for Horizon. I am thinking I should be. Do I? I think I should. I'm thinking I should go clean. Right, my shows are basically mostly clean anyway. So why am I peppering them with F-bombs for the sake of it? Because I feel nervous, because they slip out, whatever else. When actually, whenever I do shows that are clean, basically my best shows of the last year, Ladysmith Manor last year was one of my best, was probably my favourite show of last year. That was 100% clean. These 4 shows for Horizon Healthcare Workers, all clean. And you can have so much more fun with playing around when you're being clean. Like an example is that like there's, and it sounds childish, but there's like laughs to be eked from, like if you're telling a story and you need to refer to your member, downstairs, like that kind of playing around thing. There's huge laughs to be gleaned from that. But really, has anyone ever laughed by someone going, "my dick"? And I put on an American accent because I watch a lot of American stand-up, and there's a lot of it is "my dick this" and "my dick," like that. I mean, I just watched, for example, I don't really get, I get it. I just watched Ari Schaefer, for instance, who, again, don't have a problem with. He's been doing it a long time. I watch it, and it's just to me, it feels like kind of open mic shock tactic. I mean, one of the jokes, he's kind of taking a premise actually that Louis C.K. once did, which Louis C.K. did quite well, which was Louis C.K. did this bit called something like "Of course, but maybe." That was it. And I think it's on the special called "Oh My God," I think, and it was basically, of course. And this, I mean, I guess it sounds insensitive, but I'm going to just tell you what he's like. Of course, of course, we sympathise with soldiers who are killed in the war, but maybe, and then he's kids with peanut butter, like kids who are allergic to peanut butter. Of course, but maybe you can probably guess where this goes. He does it very well, and it's actually very funny. Ari Schaefer kind of does an entire set around this, but it's like, looking on the positive side. But it's like literally the kind of thing which I feel like I would have come up with on my first open spot. Like, of course, it's terrible that school shootings are terrible, but on the plus side, makes school drop off easier the next morning. I mean, the most lame concept, premise, obvious, easy, shock tactic. Also, no one really laughs. Like the audience, his audience obviously is his audience, and they like shock stuff, so they're kind of there to kind of go, "Oh, Harry said the worst thing you can imagine." And as I think I've mentioned before, I started my comedy career somewhat with that. In the, again, I can't remember if I told you, my first ever routine, which again is a routine that got me through to the finals of Jimmy Carr's Comedy Idol very quickly, due to the fact that I think Jimmy Carr liked the fact that it was shock tactics, but there was also, he liked the fact that his words, that I came in looking quite sweet and innocent, and then I basically launched into a routine which is based on some truth, which again is interesting because they always say speak what you know. I basically would come in saying that I've always felt like I'm missing out. I don't feel like, which I guess is kind of true. It's kind of true now. Like I feel like when I'm on a stage, I, for the most part, feel like I belong. I'm very present there, and there was some real moment of like unbelievable. Sun is in life. I guess some people have this if they have lots of sex, or people that I don't know, where you have a moment in life when you go, I need to, is it Ross in Friends? No, it's some annoying boyfriend of Monica's. Alec Baldwin's character in Friends, when he's like, I want to remember this moment forever. Click. Right. Very brilliant. I guess pre-iPhone joke. When phones still went click. It's disposable cameras. It was during Miramachi show on Tuesday night this week, when I just looked out and it's a packed hospital theatre in Miramichi, 200 whatever nurses, healthcare workers packed in this room, and they are all like dying of laughter. Like dying is probably a bad word to use in the case of like they're like in hysterics. People are rubbing tears away from their faces. I'm just looking out thinking, oh my God, oh my goodness, this is as good as this life gets. Making an audience do that is a good feeling. When it's the people that deserve a laugh most in the world, when it's the people that have probably had the hardest day imaginable, I just wanted to just freeze frame that moment. Just because it's not often I feel that good about myself, but also for all of those moments when I feel like I am like I mentioned about Saturday night, when I feel like I don't belong, or I feel like I'm a fraud, or an imposter. And also just because I'm looking at a room full of people that deserve to be happy, and they're all in that moment extremely happy. And again, looking at the terrible state of the world and going, my goodness, this is a room full of people just exuding absolute joy, whatever endorphins or physical things that it is through laughter. So all of this is, what's my point with this? That I had this moment. I mean, obviously, so all this makes being shocking, Jimmy. Oh yeah, basically I don't often, but yeah, I felt like I belong. But the joke I did back then was I would say how I don't feel like I belong anywhere. I always feel like I'm missing the action, and I went through a list of things that all related to tragedies and disasters. So it was total shock tactics. It did get laughs, and Jimmy Carr liked it, but it was like, and again, forgive me for this, I wouldn't do this now, but it was like, I always feel like I'm missing the action. I'm the New York firefighter that took a day off on 9/11. I'm the guy that took his family to Thailand. This is after the tsunami. I'm the guy that took his family to Thailand for Christmas and said, go for a swim. I'm going for a walk in the mountains. I'm the... Rod Hull is a children's TV presenter. He'd fallen off the TV, fallen off his roof fixing a TV aerial. Now, with benefit of hindsight, clearly that was a murder. There's no way that is how he died. But my joke was, I'm the guy that was watching TV with Rod Hull and said, TV's a bit fuzzy, why don't you go and check the roof? I don't know, there's tons of them like that. And 2005, starting out, it's what you do. Speaking of TV, okay, no, I finished the Horizon thing. Remind me, if you can. Well, you can't because I'm recording. This isn't a two-way conversation. But remind me, I'll write it down. I've got to get onto the subject of Kill Tony in a bit, because I just listened to my first episode of Kill Tony yesterday, driving back from Miramichi, and I found it... okay, I've got loads of great questions from you. Oh, my final point on the Horizon. Well, Horizon, listen, if any of you happen to be listening, I'm sure you're not, because you're too busy literally saving lives, changing lives, improving lives. Thank you to everyone at Horizon Health Network for basically everything you do. Thank you to all healthcare workers all over the world. My cousin Angela was at one of the shows. She is a nurse. I'm sure I mentioned before that my cousins and aunts are nurses back home as well. My mum's a physiotherapist. But yes, my beautiful, amazing cousin Angela was in the audience at the Monction show where she works. Huge hats off to the incredible people at the Horizon's Culture and Wellbeing team. That is what a great organisation this is. These buildings, this network full of people who've devoted their lives to literally helping others up against all kinds of terrible odds. Care so much about their staff. They have this Culture and Wellbeing team who's basically, again, they work tirelessly to make sure everyone is kept as happy as they can. Again, thousands of people to thank, but listen, just from the top of my head, Brittany and Christy, it was a literal joy working with you, and I think you can possibly tell, and maybe could tell last week, how much it all meant to me. And if I even entertain one person, I'm over the moon. Okay, I got the most amazing message from a wonderful lady. This is crazy. So after the shows, I walked around with a representative of each hospital to visit the amazing workers and nurses around the hospital who couldn't make the show. So we walked around giving out candy. So the shows were kind of 7 to 8:30, and then about 9 o'clock after chatting with everyone in the audience, who would walk around for an hour or so. And in Moncton, I was walking around. I walked past the room a couple of times. I did see someone kind of looking, but she was probably wondering, like, why is there a weird English butler walking around the wards at 9 p.m. on a Monday night in Moncton? Because I was walking obviously in my tux and everything. It was weird. I'm walking around pushing a trolley of candy, turning up at wards to see healthcare workers, which obviously, maybe 1 in 10 would say, oh, James Mullinger, we've met before. Oh, James Mullinger, I've seen your shows. 9 out of 10 are going, who is this weird, eyebrowed, dressed like a butler, British freak that's turned up with a load of candy, looking like some kind of, creepy Downton Abbey sex pest. I hope I don't look like a sex pest. But again, who walks around with a tuxedo in the middle of the night in a hospital? Sex pests, I would imagine. Anyway, so this lovely lady's name is Chelsea, and point is, she writes to me. I only saw this message later or the next day, so I am mortified because I would have loved to go and see it, because it would have made up for the 9 out of 10 people that were very confused to see me. She wrote to me basically. She said, did you just walk past my hospital room twice at 9 p.m. on a Monday in Moncton? That was odd. She's lying there in bed, I kid you not, listening to the podcast, this Mullinger's Weekly Ramble, the podcast to which is in all your ears right now. She says, I was listening to the podcast. Also, I've seen your show when you're in town. Love the podcast. Keep up the great work, keeping us laughing. Thank you. I replied to say, yes, that was me. And she replied saying, I thought so. Anyway, I want to say, and I hope you will all join me in wishing Chelsea a swift recovery. I think she said it was okay for me to mention this. And I think we can all send out our love to Chelsea. It could be that Chelsea is my only listener, of course. Well, I know I have one listener in America. I know that. Lady Catherine. And thank you, by the way, Lady Catherine, for your lovely email yesterday. It could be there's only 2 listeners. It could be that it's Lady Catherine. And Reese and John and the Podstarter team, they take care of the numbers and all that kind of stuff. So it's best I don't, I just do what I do, as you can tell. Oh, really, James? We thought it was a very tightly run, well-oiled ship, which is why we've listened to you ramble for 30 minutes. Anyway. Point being, sending out our love to Chelsea, who is just slightly basically the same age as my wife. Chelsea had a stroke last week, super healthy, no meds, frequent exerciser, no health problems, and she had a stroke. And we all know this can happen. Of course, she's in the best possible place. Moncton Hospital, Horizon, obviously looking after her. And Chelsea, I'm sending you a package, and I want you to know that as soon as you're out and well enough and you're ready to laugh again, free tickets for any show. Come and see me backstage, and but just message me what show you want to come to. I'll send you the tickets, and I send you all my love, and hope you feel better soon. Yes. Last time I got back, I've been watching a show which I've watched many of the Industry. Has anyone seen Industry? It's on Crave here in Canada. In England, it's on the BBC. And it's a BBC and HBO co-production. Now, when it started, it was kind of talked about as like being a lot like a BBC show that I used to love in the 90s called This Life, that was about a group of lawyers living in London. And at the time, I just finished school, and me and my friend Julian used to, every week we'd watch This Life, I think on Thursday night at 9 p.m, and then talk for hours and hours about what we'd just seen. That's how things used to be. On a landline, don't forget, not a mobile. You young bastards listening, you've got no idea how... And I'd be talking and then realise that, halfway through that my mum had picked up the other end of the phone and was listening in. That's what it used to be. The old landline. Sometimes you'd have to have the wire going all the way up the stairs, and then you'd try and close your door. Anyway, Industry. First two seasons are great. It's about young people basically working at a banking firm. Banking, is that what it is? Yeah, banking. But in the city of London, like money wankers, like wanker bankers, um, in London. And of course, granted, it is somewhat what I was complaining about last week. These kind of shows about the deplorable, behaviour of the rich. But it is absolutely hilarious. Now, seasons one and two are great. Also, if you want to know what it was like working in London, watch it. Like, if you want to, when I go, like, I don't think anyone has any idea quite how carnagey it really is there in terms of like the drinking, the drugs, the office sex. Now, I guess it's somewhat exaggerated, but to be honest, having worked in a magazine in London, it wasn't much different to that. And I know that the city, i.e., banking, is way worse. The media, even. So all the shagging and drinking and drugging that you see there, it is pretty spot on. Now, like I said, season 1 and 2 are great. Just to be clear, it at first seems somewhat impenetrable, if you'll excuse the pun. Impenetrable, is that the right word? Yeah. In that it's packed with industry jargon. But the point is that it's accurate, but you're not supposed to understand it, because kind of the point, I believe, is that they don't really understand it. And it's just really interesting that there's it's interesting that industry is about an industry that is just about making money, which I find fascinating. Like, I know all of us do what we do in order to make that disgusting thing called money in order to survive. But it's interesting when the job is just money. Whereas, like, obviously, I'm extremely lucky that my job is doing a thing that I massively, massively love, that would be my hobby if I didn't get paid for it. So the fact that I do, but their job is just literally like, and essentially the brief of the job, being in the city and being in banking and in finances, you literally screw over anyone you can in order to make money. It doesn't matter what you do or how immoral or how evil or how many people you screw over. It's all fine in the pursuit of money, which, was obviously a kind of a Thatcher thing. But Thatcher now seems like Bernie Sanders compared to he who will remain nameless. Okay, the headlines today. Obviously, we know that Taiwan. I'll come back to industry in a sec. I've got more to say about that. I'm going to quickly, just because we don't have newspapers here in Atlantic Canada, I'm going to quickly give you the news. That way, we can start. And there's no newspapers and there's no news on the Facebooks. Oh my God, Zuckerberg! You see, Zuckerberg's paid $25 million to you know who, Donald. My son River calls him Donald Dump. We're going to go with that. So Zuckerberg goes from banning Trump, banning Dump after the insurrection, and Dump said he would get his revenge, and he obviously has. Zuckerberg's obviously now gone crawling because he wants whatever it is he wants, and he's basically doing everything, as we know, he's doing everything Trump wants. So basically they've agreed to pay Trump $25 million. Which basically seems like a bribe. Patti Smith collapsed on stage in Brazil after suffering a days-long migraine. Robert Kennedy Jr., who doesn't believe in vaccines, is the health secretary of America. I'm sure you know that. It's weird. In Canada, I just got this. Again, I have to go to the UK website, The Guardian. If you do want to get the news, go to The Guardian. I mean, it's left-leaning, so I don't know but I find it... which I am, but if you're not, please know that it's some will say it's very left-leaning. I actually think it's very centrist and very sensible. First Nations to fight for billions in treaty payouts in Canadian court. US begins Trump begins term with historically low approval rating. Poll shows. I mean, bullshit. Keep your polls to yourself. They mean nothing. They're never right. So, and whatever. He's the president. Oh, he's got a low rating. Oh, that's going to really hurt. That's like saying someone's got a low. He's got a low rating on TripAdvisor. I don't think he cares. America's Gulag. Trump's Guantanamo deploy TARS migrants as terrorists. I'm sure you've heard this, that Guantanamo Bay, which Barack Obama promised to close, didn't, is now going to be used for locking up migrants that apparently are anyone that's a migrant that's a criminal will have to go there. And apparently, and obviously there's no, if someone's got a criminal in the family, they're also tarred with the same brush. So I assume Melania Trump will have to go there since her husband is a criminal and she is an immigrant. So I'm sure she'll have to go in there. What else is going on? I was going down. How long can the appalling Musk-Trump bromance go on? Asks The Guardian. Europe needs to stand up for Greenland. Will it? I don't know. Again, I'm full of great answers here. The West is already losing the AI arms race. Trump unleashes chaos. Okay. It's just all Trumpy Wumpy. Lots of soccer. Oh, Crystal Palace are playing Man United this weekend, which is fun. Although bloody Man United lost against Brentford last week, which got me out of my pub sweepstake in South London, which I'm in. Roman Abramovich's tax. Roman Abramovich owes the British government $1 billion in tax. I'll bet you $1 billion he doesn't have to cough up. But meanwhile, I bet they're in the process of the UK IRS. What are they called? I can't remember what they're called. But the UK CRA will be probably right now destroying the life of a plumber that forgot to declare a £50 thing. Oh, the Bishop of Liverpool acquits amid sexual misconduct allegations. Oh, isn't the world? I think I'm going to go back to not reading the news. Man with sex somnia not guilty of raping woman after judge warns jury in Sydney trial. It really is a sad state of affairs, but I guess it always was. You know, if you didn't read any news, I know it feels highly insensitive to do that because there's so many awful evils in the world and people going through awful things. And, you know, you look at the situation in the Middle East and you think, well, it's not fair for us to not. But, like, does us knowing and not acting help? Like, do you think everyone that's going through the terrible things is thinking, well, at least those people in Rosse are sat there reading about this. That'll help. That'll help us. Like, is there an argument that no one ever reads anything about anything anywhere else and you just basically worry about your own stuff? And then if the apocalypse is coming, or like Trump's tanks are coming over the Harbour Bridge in St. John, good luck with that, by the way. I don't think you'll get them over. Be stuck there for so long. We'll be able to get time to get all the men off the Kingston Peninsula with their shotguns to send you all back into Calais, which, by the way, is pronounced Calais. So industry. So it's been compared to so many different shows, right? It's like Billions meets Euphoria, Skins meets Wall Street, Working Girl for a New Generation, Succession meets Girls. I mean, Succession is the one it gets compared to most in that, you know, it's obviously full of, you know, disgusting rich people, quotable lines. This third season is remarkable for the way in which it highlights like the disgusting way in which the billionaires are in cahoots with the British government and with the newspapers. And really, I mean, British society and aristocracy and society is way more screwed than America, by the way, heads up. Sorry. I'll tell you some of the amazing quotes from season 3. As they're sending out like a patsy to take the fall for a huge corrupt. Oh, the main character was called Henry Muck, like Lord Muck, except obviously Muck is basically Musk. They're sending someone else. They get him all dressed up to look. Anyways, one of the traders comes out and says, "You look like you're on trial for a racially motivated murder," which is obviously. In the context, it is absolutely hilarious. If you really, this is a very profound line. If you really want to damn a man, teach him how to count. I haven't done blow since 9/11. Another line is, remember, it's only an addiction if you can't afford it. That sums it up. You don't get what you deserve in this business. You get what you can take. Another line that comes from the vice president when they're begging. Well, I won't spoil the ending, but the president still thinks we're at war with Japan. Although, that's probably a joke about Biden or Bush, or when did any of them. And I'm sure Trump probably is going to ensure they are at war with Japan soon enough. I'm good at making people feel like I love them, but I don't know that I've ever loved anyone. It's a great line. Although I will say, a crucial thing when watching industry is to make sure that you have the subtitles on, because some of the absolute best lines in the show are completely inaudible. There's a scene where there's some characters arguing on the floor of the bank, of the trading floor, whatever, what it's called. And in the background, they've got a fancy dress day going on, which makes it all more hilarious. Like, you got someone, they're arguing things, and someone's dressed as like Henry VIII, holding like the head of Anne Boleyn or whatever. And in the background, you don't hear actually. I just read it. Someone said, and the winner is so-and-so, who came as Jimmy Savile and his deceased mother, which, again, just to give you an example of just quite how the sense of humor of this, and this is actually a very British sense of humor. I was about to tell you another story, which I will tell you in a minute, but it's a bit disgusting, so I'll think about whether I tell it or not. Jimmy Savile was kind of like, like a Mr. Rogers in England, but then it turned out he had literally sexually assaulted, raped thousands of people over many years, covered up by the BBC, covered up by the royal family, covered up by politicians, covered up by police. Literally, in the same way, like all the scandals that we have, all the people who basically tell us what to do and tell us how to behave, media, politicians, royals, kind of like the awful residential school scandal here in Canada, where all the people telling everyone how to think and act now are the same people whose bosses / ancestors / parents / employers covered it up for years, right? Basically, what we all learned, the genocide that we learned about 2 years ago that happened here in Canada over the last few decades. Think how many hundreds of police chiefs, Globe and Mail journalists, National Post journalists, politicians, and indeed thousands of other people would have had to work together to keep that quiet. Think how many people got those phone calls about those missing children. Think how many of them just conspired to cover it up. And that's who we all answer to. That's who we pay our taxes to. Anyway, we don't want to go into point being, Jimmy Savile. Now the jokes doesn't seem quite as funny. Jimmy Savile also disgustingly sexually assaulted corpses. He was given access to the morgues of hospitals where he had sex with corpses. So yes, I get. So it depends what your sense of humor is what I'm trying to say. And then the runner up for this fancy dress thing was Bobby Sands, the hunger striker, who did a dirty protest. And so anyway, this is the level of the humor. If you don't think that any of that sounds remotely funny, steer clear of industry. I hope it's the end of January. I hope all of your New Year's resolutions are going to plan. I have overcome one thing this month. I've had an extremely healthy month, eating well, hardly drinking at all. I, through my teens and 20s, smoked cigarettes, and then in my 30s, smoked a bit, like a couple of times a day, but regular, like I was a smoker. It's interesting how, what was I reading somewhere where I was talking about the fact that it's funny how if someone is a smoker, they're a smoker, they're an addict, regardless of whether it's 1 or 100 a day, they're a smoker. But with alcohol, you're a drinker, but you only become an alcoholic but yeah, it's a given that you're a smokeaholic, but you don't have that word aholic attached to it. Anyway, my point is, so about 6 years ago, 5-6 years ago, I quit like smoking on a regular basis. I quit smoking. I basically stopped ever smoking when I wasn't having a drink. But unfortunately, I would occasionally succumb to, when having had a drink or two, having a cigarette, and I wanted to knock that on the head, obviously. I was just sick of it. I hate being kind of feeling like a slave to it. That 3 drinks and I had to have one. So that's 30 days since I've had one. It's not like as I say, it's not like I was having lots. I had like maybe 2 on New Year's Eve, but I almost knocked it on the head. And it's funny, like I always used to. And it's funny, like now and again. Now, what I try to remember is when if I have a drink and I think, oh, it'd be nice to have a cigarette. And I'm thinking, oh God, it's boring not being able to go and have a smoke. I think so. If you know what's more boring than not being able to have a smoke, and that is like smoke, like the process of, oh, okay, I've got to sneak outside. I've got to sneak outside, without my kids seeing me. I've got to smoke this thing that might also make me sick. Certainly, might make me sick, might make me. And then I got to come in stinking, so I got to wash my hands like a million times, which is going to make them even drier in wintertime. I've got to go outside in the freezing cold. Now I stink. That's really boring. So, like, if you're going to take 2 things that are boring, like it's boring not smoking and it's boring, very boring smoking, they're both boring. Why don't you just drop the one that is both boring and is going to kill you? That's my helpful tip to anyone that is trying to quit anything. As boring as it is, not doing the thing that you miss, whether it be alcohol, drugs, fast food, sex, buying Care Bears. I just said that because I'm looking around my room for addictions, and I think the number of Care Bears I have in here counts as an addiction. Just think about how boring it is doing the thing. Okay, so we're going to go to your questions in a minute. Other things I watched, watching Beast Games. I will watching it, enjoying it. It's nice to watch thing with my son, Hunter. Nice to feel young and current watching a show. I can't bear to watch all the YouTube crap, so it's nice to watch something on Amazon Prime that's actually produced. It's weird how little charm and charisma that Jimmy guy has. I mean, he has the YouTube thing of being able to shout and throw money about. It's like when something emotional or moving happens, potentially emotional or moving happens in the show, he has no empathy or humanity to be able to actually glean something from that. Unlike, may I say, surprisingly, Tony Hinchcliffe. Now, many of you may know Tony Hinchcliffe as the host of Kill Tony. He also had one of the most barnstorming sets at the Roast of Tom Brady. Since that Roast of Tom Brady is popping up everywhere, Kill Tony is a podcast that has become so huge. I believe it's one of the biggest podcasts in the world. The podcast now has spawned like live podcast recordings in ginormous arenas. Like there's a handful of people that have done that before. I believe it's Chris Ramsey and his wife did it in England for their podcast Shagged, Married, Annoyed. Mike Ward, the Quebec comedian, good friend of mine, the guy that was actually sued by Human Rights for a joke he made. So I've seen Hinchcliffe. He also very famously did the Puerto Rico joke at the Trump rally at Madison Square Garden. Now, that was obviously I mean, again, I have no idea where Tony Hinchcliffe sits politically, actually, and it's the brilliance, actually, to be honest, of his comedy, that because he goes after everyone, you don't really know, and that's how it should be with comedy. But there's a time and a place for comedy. I mean, even Trump tried to disown the comment at the time because he was worried about not winning the election. Some people thought the irony was that Joe Rogan, I think, had recommended Tony to Trump, and people were saying the irony if this is the thing that sinks Trump. Of course, it didn't. The joke actually it isn't a bad joke, and it's also it's a joke. I think it was something like America has this huge pile of garbage in the middle of it. It's called Puerto Rico. I mean, it's clearly a joke. right? And of course, people are taking it literally. And of course, I mean, yes, and then people rightly said it wasn't in a comedy club; it was at a political rally. Regardless, Tony actually references something to do with this because he talks about Whitney Cummings did something on New Year's Eve on CNN that apparently got her, tons of hate mail and abuse. And just so everyone knows, every time a comedian makes a joke and everyone gets their knickers in a twist, I mean, it's just great for the comedian. So keep doing it. So I have not listened to. I've watched clips of Kill Tony on the TikToks and the Big Box and the Lit Locks, and I've never really liked the look of it. It looked to me, essentially the premise is new comedians get up on stage at what I believe is the Mothership, which I think is Joe Rogan's club in Austin, Texas, which is actually where my friend Louisa O'Melian is right now. And they get to do a minute of stand-up, and then they're interviewed by Tony / roasted by Tony / interviewed / roasted by two celebrity guests. In the case of the episode that I just watched or listened to, the guests were I'm actually just going to check because I want to get it right. But sorry, that was it. Episode. So it was the January the 13th episode 700 I listened to, and it was Cam Patterson and Whitney Cummings. Now, obviously, 700 episodes in, one of the biggest podcasts in the world. All I'd seen was clips, so I kind of thought it looked to me a bit low blow and mean, and just kind of treating people like garbage, like Puerto Rico. And I had misjudged it completely. So I listened to a whole episode. So basically, people get to go on stage, they have a minute. Now, a lot of these comedians are absolutely terrible. Now, granted, it might be their first time, their second time, their third time they're getting up there, but you can really tell why it isn't working. Now, what is absolutely fascinating with Tony's interview style, because of course, what gets taken out of context in these little clips is, the abuse parts and everything else. Which, so I'm just going to grab my cup of coffee from over here. Won't be a sec. My lost voice comes back and. Did I tell you I got a coffee machine for Christmas? I literally wanted a old school proper coffee machine, not like Nespresso, little expensive, stupid things for lattes and all that bollocks. Like old school, Tim Hortons style. What's it called? Drip feed. Isn't not French? No, not French press. Drip coffee. One of the ones you can set off, so it's goes. I told you this already, yeah. But so what's interesting is if you're interested in learning stand-up comedy, what a great thing to listen to. What is fascinating is that Tony Hinchcliffe, it transpires, in my opinion, is an absolutely incredible interviewer. Because what he does is he proceeds to ask these people questions. They come up, they do jokes for a minute, invariably appalling, often offensive, which, again, nothing more offensive than when something's offensive and not funny, because then the offensiveness of it just stands out more. So when someone comes up and they're ranting misogyny or whatever. Anyway, he then starts asking them questions. And from those questions gleans stuff about their lives. I mean, it's absolutely hilarious. There's callbacks. The one guy used to own a restaurant. He starts Googling the Yelp reviews. He discovers this guy was basically buying one pickle and then chopping it up and deep frying it. Funnier than it sounds, trust me. Listen to episode 700. What I realised that Hinchcliffe's actually doing for both the listener and the guest who is, in essence, being roasted, or, and their names are picked out of a hat. You turn up, you put your names in the hat, and then you might get to go up, you might not, which is very nerve-wracking as a new comedian or any comedian, where you sat there not knowing, and then suddenly it's like, oh, I've got 30 seconds notice to walk up there. Obviously, you're prepared, but you're not. I like to know. I want to know when I'm I want to know in the morning. I want to know what time I'm going on in the evening. Anyway, he starts doing this thing, and he starts doing his asking them questions, and by asking them questions about their lives, the stuff that they say is gleaning massive laughs from the audience, which obviously is down to Tony's genius interviewing style, but also in theory, if these people were smart, who the wannabe comedians, they would ascertain that they're trying to be funny, going back to my thing about wedding speeches and Jimmy Carr, but their actual lives and their true experiences. It's like Jimmy Carr says to me once, speak about what you know. What's your unique MO? Like, what's your angle? So, in England, I was kind of playing on the fact that I was kind of this boarding school kid, blah, blah, blah. And of course, my angle here is, the angle. English comedian moved to New Brunswick. Isn't it hilarious? Oh, my goodness, he's never heard of homemade wine. Is that where things used to be? Oh, my jolly gosh. That's my impression of me by a person who hates me. So, you get what I'm saying. But so... It's like when I started doing stand-up, I did a Logan Murray course with my friend Julian called the Amused Moose course, which is a lot of actually very big comedians, like Russell Howard, he started on the same course. And you'd come in and you'd all be like, well, we can't, we have no idea how to do comedy. And Logan would get us to make a list of things that we hate or things that we love and to talk about it. And we would do it. And the rest of the people in the room would laugh. And we would realize, so really what Tony's doing is kind of giving this masterclass in teaching them that their actual life experience is far funnier than the crap that they're constructing and contriving in these, contrived setups and acts. Anyway, point being, I listened to it drive back from Miramichi yesterday. I woke up, again, no voice miraculously back today. Basically, woke up pretty much no voice still for the night before. Woke up at 6 a.m. Actually woke up at 5 a.m. and I probably only had like 4 hours sleep. I thought I might as well get up. Got up, interestingly, step out of my hotel room, and my friend Christy, who works for Horizon, who I was doing the shows with, turns out she's like, we had no idea. We all booked, separate. She's like basically in the room next to me, and we're leaving at the exact same time. And there's two ways to leave Miramichi, both equally barbaric roads that literally looks like they haven't been paved since the Romans. If the Romans ever came here, I don't know. That was an English reference. Roman roads, who knows? Anyway, point being, and then 20 minutes later, I stop off for Tim's in Rogersville, and I bump into Chrissy. She's behind me in the queue. It's funny, only in New Brunswick. Hats off, by the way, to my friend Matt Richardson, who one of my jokes I needed to know a local town that would get a big laugh. He told me Renouse, got a massive laugh. Matt is in Miramichi at the moment. Well, he lives there as well. But he's there with other Miramichi comedy legend Jimmy McKinley. They're filming a second season of their hit sitcom O'Donnell's at beautiful O'Donoghue's pub in Miramichi. So anyway, watch out for that. Watch the first season, and hats off to them, killing it. Two people that when I need to know if something's funny, I go to them. Oh, by the way, last week I was talking about a show last year, and I couldn't remember all the comedians that were on the bill because I was also talking about Corey Krause from The Scene. Did I mention The Scene? Was this amazing organization in Heartland that's been promoting top-notch music and comedy shows for the past couple of years, but I didn't know who was behind it. Anyway, I now know this gentleman by the name of Corey Krause. I know I sound like I'm talking a lot faster, but a bit like a ad for a pharmaceutical drug on television. I'm going faster because there's not much time left, but unlike those ads, it's not because I'm trying to cover up the fact that by taking this pill for erectile dysfunction, it could also mean that your bollocks snap off and you grow a fresh bollock under your armpit. I don't know which drug does that, but could be any of them that you really heard this thing. What country is it? Australia, where they've launched a rule where there's a limit to how much private businesses or pharmaceutical businesses or gun businesses or indeed any business can finance a political campaign. Which again, I'm not going to go back to Trump and Musk or Muck, which Dump and Muck. Donald Dump is the name my son gave Trump, and Muck is the name they gave him in industry. So Dump and Muck. Dump and Muck. Speaking of which, the Trump book, Fire and Fury by Michael Wolff, is at St. John Airport, and there's only one copy, but there's about 12 copies of my memoir I see there. big display, which either means it's selling so well they keep ordering more to keep the display replenished, or it means it ain't selling. So my friend Jan de Roville at St. John Airport, a king of the greatest sandwich ever, by the way. If you want to know what the best sandwich ever is, it's one of the best sandwiches ever. My favourite, it's his chicken salad sandwich. Yesterday I dropped off my rental car at the airport. By the way, hats off to my friends at Enterprise Alamo St. John Airport, Dawn and Colin. A beautiful car they gave me, and winter tyres this time, so it kept me safe as I drove through snowstorms to get to those gigs. But I made sure I got there early, i.e. earlier than I was meeting my wife there, so I could go to Jan's YSJ cafe to have the chicken sandwich. How did I get onto this? Yeah, there's loads of my books left in there. So if you go to St. John Airport and you're flying somewhere, please buy a copy, and I will, if you want it signed for a friend or a relative, I'll come to your house and sign it. Ask around, do that all the time, or your place of work. Ask my friend Kelly at Shoppers Drug Mart. She wanted her signed. I went and done it, didn't I? So but point being, I forgot. Nathan Dimitrov is one of the best comics around. Bilingual comic, and bilingual comedy, by the way, is the future. Well, bilingualism is the present, past, and future. Bilingual comedy, Sugar Sammy has been a master at it. Nathan Dimitrov is a trainee master at it. And but one of the best comedians around, a great headliner, great guy, great ambassador for the region, worked for New Brunswick Tourism for a long time. So anyway, Corey Krause is on a mission to create the comedy kings and queens and theys, if there are any, of New Brunswick. Although, is that illegal now? No, it's just in America that's illegal now. Thanks for that, Trump. That was really nice thing you did there. Find the most the people that are basically suffering the most prejudice and make their lives even harder. Thank you, Trumpy 1p. Anyway, the Kings, Queens and Days of New Brunswick comedy. Corey Krause has the great idea of trying to get that off the ground. So let's just say we're going to support Corey on that mission. And Nathan Dimitrov, if you have a chance to go and see him, do. He is phenomenal. Today, Netflix announced the return of what they call the global phenomenon Squid Game, if they humbly say so themselves. Arrogant, rich bastards. A third and final seaman? Jesus. Squid. Is it because I was thinking of fish? I don't know. A third and final season is premiering June 27th, 2025. That's this year. That's weird. So they must have shot 2 and 3 back to back. Season 2 became the third most watched Netflix season on Netflix ever. 68 million views. I mean, I thought it was absolute dog shit, by the way. There's my review. If you want to put that on a post to Netflix, James Bollinger says Netflix Squid Game season 2 just dragged out. Okay, I'm leaving. I tried watching The Traitors, by the way. It's a phenomenon in the UK, hosted by the wonderful Claudia Winkleman. Watched the American one first, diabolical, because it's all bloody reality TV guests, all coming on. And we're all supposed to have watched every 67,000 episodes of Survivor to understand what's what. So someone comes in and goes, oh my God, he's really difficult because he done this on Survivor. We haven't watched Survivor. I'm not going to watch 50. Literally, it's like you just do. Have a 12-year doctorate in watching shitty American reality TV shows just to understand The Traitors. Then it doesn't even explain what the plot is, what the competition is. Then I watched the UK one, it should be okay, but it's not as good as the UK Apprentice, by the way. I know the word apprentice is a dirty word now because of what it caused in America. But in England, the Apprentice is run by Sir Alan Sugar, a man who used to seem quite right-wing. Now doesn't seem quite so bad. Not because he's changed his view, just because the world has gone completely bonkers. I watched The Karate Kid with River on Sunday, which is an absolute joy to watch a movie that I absolutely adored at 6 years old. Obviously, he's watched Cobra Kai, but it was so weird watching it again. Also, quite delightful seeing that Ali, Daniel's girlfriend, Ali Sheedy, not Ali Sheedy, no, what's her name? You can tell me. Elizabeth Shue, who I was madly in love with, that she, at whatever age she was when she made that, 18, 19, kind of looks like my wife now. So, dreams can come true, people. Oh, I watched the end of Blink twice, by the way, that I was banging on about last week. It is good. Okay, so I think I've done all this. Questions. Um, Jessica Gell, thank you. Do I get a good night's sleep? That's a good one. No, but I'm all right. Thanks for asking. I think I always said this. That I think because I used to like party so much in my 20s and then have to go and do like a really stressful day's work and then often go and gig that night and then we'd go partying again and then obviously in my 30s then was doing that and had a baby. Now, even if I don't get a good night's sleep, because I'm waking up not hungover, having, you know, because I'm waking up not hungover, having eaten well, and exercise. Like I say, YMCA, swimming at the YMCA keeps me alive and sane, and I have an amazing personal trainer called Tara, who keeps me feeling good. So even when last night I didn't get last night, for some reason it was weird. So like I said, yesterday morning, I woke up at Mirror Machine. I woke up at like 5:30, 6 a.m. Had about 4 hours sleep. Drove all the way home, worked all day, and then watched Industry, and I was buzzing from Industry, and then couldn't get to sleep. So I had very little sleep last night, and then woke up. My wife goes to the gym at about 5:30, so she went out. I then got up to start writing a chapter for my book. So no, I don't get a good night's sleep, but normally I can fall asleep easily. That's the thing, Jessica. I can fall asleep anywhere. I can fall asleep in dressing rooms. I can fall asleep standing up. I can fall asleep. Although that was one good joke Ari Schaefer has about heroin addicts and the skill they have at falling asleep standing up. Again, I know it sounds insensitive, but it's quite funny. But thanks for asking. No, I don't get a good night's sleep. But as I say, I could finish this and then go have a nap. I actually often do. I get such a buzz from talking to you all on this. I often leave this like somewhat wiped, like I do after a gig. Like my endorphin / what's it called? Like adrenaline. I've mentioned this before. Literally, the fact you all listen to this makes me so happy because this is one of my favorite things to do. And it kind of means that I spend all week kind of thinking about like, when I'm watching something, I'm thinking, I've got to watch to the end because I've got to tell my friends who are listening, all 5 of them, what's going on. Patrick Smith says here you're a top fan. You're one of my top fans, Patrick. So I thank you for that. Record album collector? If so, what era and what type of music? Great question. Yes, massive album collector. Got hundreds, possibly 1,000 behind me, broken up into sections. Biggest selection, I would say, would be soundtracks. Every soundtrack you can possibly imagine, from Porky's 1, 2, Porky's 1, 2, and 3 on vinyl, Smokey and the Bandit 1, 2, and 3, Inglourious Bastards, Pulp Fiction. So I have lots of new soundtracks, like as in, newly pressed ones, weird movies like Last House on the Left, Last House on Dead End Street, Cannibal Holocaust, Cannibal Ferox, Demons, and also tons of vintage ones. Perfect, the John Travolta movie is one of my favorite soundtracks. Also heavy metal, well, if you can't call it heavy, possibly Poison, my favorite band, Guns N' Roses, and then also a huge section of East Coast legends such as Christina Martin. Incidentally, Christina Martin has an event, online event this weekend that you all need to sign up for. The launch of Storm, the live album, the concert film, which I don't know if you've heard me talk about this, but last year, the best weekend of one of the worst professional weekends of my life, because I was screwed over, should we say, by another comedian, if you can believe that. But while I was there, I got to go and see the live recording concert film of her album Storm, which is my favorite album, by the way, which I was listening to on my drive back yesterday morning. I did actually mention Christina coming back after, like I say, happiest I've felt in so long. Like the Horizon gigs made me so happy, and I'm coming back listening to Christina Martin. This is the song Healed, which listen to this bit. Listen to this bit, right? Coming up. She had me and at this live concert recording, I basically arrived there to do this gig and then get some bad news about it, and then get invited to come to Alderney Landing Theatre to see Christina, my friend, and her amazing husband, Dale Martin, who, by the way, is in Dale Murray, sorry, who is in actually in the Trailer Park Boys movie, the new one, the Bubbles movie, which is great, by the way. And she invites. I arrived there, and all my Halifax friends are there. I literally felt like it was like walking into like a family situation. Nancy Reagan, Katie Kelly, Anna from CTV, Stephanie Purcell, Sandy and Randy, who I first met at, who are actually neighbours of Christina's, who she told them about me. They kindly drove to Dorchester to see me live, then came to see me in Yip. Beautiful, beautiful people. I think I made a joke that Sandy and Randy sounds like the name of a porn movie, which they took very well. Beautiful people. Anyway, what a incredible evening this was, and we got invited to come on stage to sing this song. There's a bit in a minute where it's like, where is it? He heal. This was it. We all sang this. He will heal. As you can tell, I mimed my bit so I wouldn't like ruin it. But anyway, still, I bet you're all wishing I'd mimed during the New Brunswick song as well. Anyway, it's just magical. I'm on stage. I honestly, tears in my. I just wrote a chapter for my next book about that weekend and how you can have a really bad professional moment, but how your friends can lift you up. And then that night, me and Nancy I took the Dartmouth ferry for the first time that night, and it was just one of those nights. Again, where I felt, well, I was talking about how I often don't feel like I belong anywhere, and that night in that room in Halifax, surrounded by those people who always like lift me up, prop me up. I felt like I belonged. Two hosts was there. Was Mike and Kristen, hosts of basically one of the best podcasts ever. Sorry. So point being, what? How did I get onto this? Oh, what albums are record albums? So I've got I think pretty much all of Christina's albums on vinyl. Same goes for Brent Mason, Tomato Tomato, the amazing Jessica Ray, who is very close friends with Christina Martin. Amazing, talented artists do tend to hang out. I'm going to forget people. Tons. So I got. If you want, you know what? Next week I'm running out of time, so I can't go and grab them right now. But next week I'll read out the list of all the East Coast artists I have on vinyl. But like I say, those are the ones. Tim Andrews asks my favorite Sun classic. Some days I'll go with neither. Very quickly, my friend Andrew Butters. I purchased his book, Near Death by a Thousand Cuts, a humorous memoir of misfortune. He and I met, became friends after a show at the Algonquin. He also wrote a book that is frequently called a toilet book. He also was diagnosed with ADHD later in life. We have lots in common. I am halfway through the book. It is absolutely wonderful. So I highly recommend you look up and buy Near Death by a Thousand Cuts, a humorous memoir of misfortune by Andrew Butters. Becca Lun Chi has very kindly asked the question, would you consider to do a comedy skit on TikTok with one of your fans? I don't have fans, Becca. I'm not successful. B, I'm not famous. C, I never want to be. I don't have fans. I have friends who I make who share the same sense of humor as me. So, and I make them because they join me in rooms where we laugh together. So, would I consider to do a comedy skit on TikTok with someone who enjoys my comedy? Yes. And again, I don't have a following on TikTok, and it's not really where. I don't even, I have Facebook is unfortunately again the devil. Well, he's not the devil, Zuckerberg. He's been led astray by the devil. Well, who knows? Who came first? The prick or the wanker? Who knows? The dump or the muck or the dump or the zuck. But again, Trump voters that are listening doesn't mean I don't want you to stop listening, and it doesn't mean I don't love you, because there's one thing I learned. In church growing up, it was that I love everyone. Would I consider to do a comedy skit? Absolutely, Becca. If you're asking because you would like to, I would love to do a TikTok with you. And I'm sure you'd be much better at it than I do, because I don't know how to do it. Incidentally, I'm always asked this question. Someone has messaged, but what is the best food in the world? I would say it varies all the time. Obviously, I've mentioned on my other things, sushi, chicken mix, Jan's chicken sandwich from the airport. But right now, and consistently, I have to say Sunkist. Sunkist, the fruit sweets made by Ganong chocolatiers in St. Stephen. Sunkist are the best. My go-to favorite treat, I would say. 24/7. Okay, this is now officially one of the longest podcasts ever. I apologize for the fact the first 20 minutes. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to let you go. Lady Catherine in Florida. I hope the weather is beautiful. I hope you're feeling wonderful, and I hope you have a wonderful game of pickleball. Which, despite what I may have said, I don't really remember saying that I said. Apparently, I said, "Is pickleball even a real game?" I must have been joking, but I think maybe was I talking about the fact that I was playing with my son in PEI. I hope I get to play pickleball sometime with my friend Catherine St. Pierre. Ideally in Florida, but if not, right here in Rosso. I won't be very good at it, which is possibly why I said it's a sport, because actually, I can't do anything. Thank you all for listening. This has been a Mullinger's Weekly Ramble. Oh, really, James? We thought it was a Mullinger's Weekly, carefully honed. What a wonderful... Yeah, so to check out Industry Season 3. Enjoy your tariffs on Sunday. Maybe we will stop watching the news. Hats off to all of the people at the New Brunswick Youth Orchestra and everyone at Horizon Health Network. And let's send our love to everyone in hospital, especially our new friend Chelsea. And let's send our love and prayers and thoughts to all of the people currently on their way to Guantanamo Bay, including Melania. I hope the clothes shopping in Guantanamo is to your liking, Melania. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week. Send me your questions, comedy@jamesmullinger.com or jamesmullinger@gmail.com or james@jamesmullinger.com, or just post a note through my front door. You know where I am. Thanks very much. Love you very much. See you all soon. Stay healthy, stay fit, stay, or don't. But if you don't, enjoy being unhealthy. Because when I was unhealthy, I loved it until I didn't. That's it. You've been great. Thanks a lot, guys. Love you. Bye.
Mullinger's Weekly Ramble.
You've been listening to a Podstarter production.